Richardson. I'm the chaplain. So in February of 2009, I was in the mountains of Afghanistan, and I had a price in my head, and I was a danger to every single person I was around. A few months earlier, I had my dream job. I was at the Air Force Academy, and I was living it up. I was the pastor of the largest worship service in a cool chapel. I was Group 1 chaplain. I was the football chaplain. I had cadets over my house every single week. I absolutely loved to see all the results, all the lives changed, all the things that were happening. For me, as a chaplain, it was paradise. And then I got deployed to Afghanistan. I stopped by Bagram to meet the command chaplain who actually finally told me my mission. He brought me aside and said, your job is to get stuck at little tiny forward operating bases and only talk to Army people. I was sent in lieu of an Army chaplain. Obviously, I was an Air Force chaplain, but I was only allowed to talk to Army people, and so I was supposed to go from little place to little place, and he also said, by the way, none of them want you there. No one's going to show up to a worship service other than maybe one or two people. No one's going to want to see counseling. No one's really going to want to get to know you because you're an Air Force chaplain and you're a captain. They're not interested. But we have this chart, and on the chart it says how long it's been since a forward operating base of FOB got visited by a chaplain and had a worship service. And you have to keep that chart green. That's your whole job. And so I remember leaving there to go to Kandahar, where I was going to start flying off to all these different places in southern Afghanistan, and thinking to myself, this guy has no idea who I am. I am an Air Force Academy chaplain. I am awesome. I'm going to rock it. I'm going to do amazing. And it turns out he was right. I failed miserably. Every single place, one or two people at most. I went out, tried to play basketball, tried to play games, tried to hang out with everybody. Nobody really wanted to talk to the Air Force chaplain. Maybe it was just because it was me. It had nothing to do with the Air Force. I don't know what it was. But they didn't want to talk to me at all. And so I remember just feeling every single time like I'm expecting to see some great event. I've been wanting to be a chaplain since I was 20. I've been wanting to deploy since I was 21. I was excited about this, and I felt every single time like I was failing the mission. Every single time. Fast forward to February. I've been doing this for a few months, and the special operations chaplain for the Army came up to me. And he said, I have one fire base, so a special operations base, mostly Green Berets there, one fire base who is anti-chaplain. They don't want to see a chaplain. They believe chaplains are bad luck, and so they won't let any Army chaplain come, and they've made a rule, no Army chaplain can come there. So it's been a long time. I need somebody to go there. And since they won't let an Army chaplain, I was thinking you could go as an Air Force chaplain, and they couldn't say anything. Being naive and needing something to do, I said, sure, why not? I'll go. So I took 4 different flights on helicopters, about a total of 6.5, 7 hours of flying up to 8,500 feet in Afghanistan. And I showed up on the fire base, and the commander looks at me and says, oh, well, I guess they figured out a way around. But I was only supposed to be there 3 hours, so he said, well, for 3 hours, I'll let you here. You get off on this helicopter, in 3 hours, another helicopter is going to come back, and then you're off. You're off as soon as possible. I said, yes, sir, absolutely, I'm gone. The problem is, during that 3 hours, yeah, I offered a worship service, 2 people came. I offered counseling, nobody came. But during those 3 hours, their sister fire base, 12 miles away, got attacked. And there was fatalities. American fatalities. And so the helicopter that was supposed to come pick me up diverted and went to that place. And I was stuck. Not just 1 day, or 2 days, or 3 days. I was stuck for days upon days upon days. In fact, 10 days later, they had a clinic that they did for the local village, for women and children in the local village, a medical clinic. And so they open up this clinic, and usually the guys all show up, and they say hi to the kids, and they play with the kids. And I had a little bit of candy, so I wanted to show up too and get some candy to the kids. And they all wore the uniform, so I wore mine. There was a problem. My uniform looked different than theirs. Not just because I had an Air Force uniform at the time, it was different than the Army uniform. And not because I was a captain, because there was another captain. It was because my uniform had a cross. And they'd never seen that. They realized, one of the mothers there realized that the cross probably meant that there was a Christian leader on base. And so they went back and told the Taliban. And the Taliban, not knowing how long I was going to be there, the next day decided that that night they needed to attack the fire base and put a large amount of money on anybody that could bring back the head and the cross of the person that wore this uniform. I had a bounty on my head. I remember that night feeling absolutely horrible that I put all of these people in harm's way. All these special forces guys that are risking their lives every single day, I brought extra harm to them. I remember thinking about how I just wasn't accomplishing anything, and why in the world was I actually there? Why in the world could I not seem to get anything right? And finally, as I'm sitting in the Tactical Operations Center, the TOC, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm under armed guard. I have to stay up all night under armed guard just in case something happens. One of the E7s came up to me, and he said, "Chaplain, can you pray for me real quick?" And I thought, yes, finally, somebody wants me to pray for him. I've been here for months, never had anybody ask me that question. Never. And I said, absolutely. And I remember stopping right there, putting my hand on my shoulders, getting ready to pray for him. And I started my prayer, dear Heavenly Father or something. And it's something eloquent and beautiful, I'm sure. And as I stopped in the middle of the prayer because I realized I had no idea what he wanted me to pray for. No idea. It might have been a relative. It might have been his own issue. It might have been something going on. I didn't know. So I stopped in the middle of the prayer and I said, by the way, what do you want me to pray for? He said, well, Chaplain, this is going to seem really strange, and I'm sorry about that. But I'm in charge of your protection tonight. And we don't have enough people to keep you safe. We know what's out there, and there's no way I'm going to be able to keep you safe. And he said, I'm pretty sure that you're going to die tonight. And as a Green Beret, I'm going to be held responsible for having a chaplain die on my watch. It's going to completely end my career. Can you pray that my career survives your death? Seriously, I thought the same thing you thinking. This guy has got to be joking. He is not serious. No, I'm looking at him, the full beard, hardcore. He looks at me, almost tears in his eyes. He's looking at me and saying, I need this career. And he actually said that. I said, I know it sounds bad, but I need this career. I've got to have this career. This is so important to me. I do not want to do anything else, but I know if I lose a chaplain on my watch, I'm not staying in the Green Berets. Can you pray that my career survives your death? So I had him sit down. I knelt beside him, and I prayed that if I died, his career would survive. Can you imagine what that felt like? How absolutely hopeless I felt. How I felt like I was endangering every single person there. I was more than worthless. I was a danger to every single one of them. This guy, not just his career, his life is in danger because I'm there. The next morning, I'm still in the TOC. I'm still under armed guard. I'm still being washed, and they had to go on a mission. So the commander came up to me. Big old guy, big old beard. He walked right up to me, and he put his finger in my chest. He says, Chaplain, you were never allowed on this base. You were not supposed to be here. Chaplains are bad juju. Remember it exactly. He said, I wanted you off of this base. And I'm so ticked that you are here. My people have not gotten enough sleep last night. I tried to delay the mission because of you, and I can't do it. I have to send them out on mission. And they're not ready. Then he looked me straight in the eyes and got even closer to me. He said, if one of my people gets injured during this mission, I'm holding you personally responsible. I couldn't believe it. He walked out and got onto his mission. I walked out with him and saw them going away, and I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do? I can't fight with them. I'm not allowed to go with them. I'm not allowed to carry a weapon. I'm a chaplain. I'm not allowed to plan anything. I've tried worship services. I've tried engaging with them. I've tried doing everything I can do. I didn't have any other options left. I felt completely like a failure. Like there was absolutely nothing I could do to get it right. I tried and I tried and I tried and I failed and I failed and I failed. And I have a feeling I'm not the only person in this room who's ever felt like that. Maybe not the same way. Maybe the Taliban hasn't had a death threat on you. But there's been things in your life that you really tried to do your best. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was a marriage. Maybe it was something in the military. Trying to be the best airman you can, be the best NCO, the best officer. And we're looking at the results and saying the results are not what I wanted. They're not in accordance with the amount of effort I put into this. I tried so hard and I didn't get the strat, or I didn't get the push, I didn't get the award, I didn't get what I needed to get. I tried so hard for my marriage and it still crumbled, or I tried in this relationship and it still fell apart. I tried so hard to be a great parent and look at my kids. That was supposed to be a joke, sorry. No, I've tried so hard and I felt like a failure. What do you do when you feel like a failure? What do you do when you feel like your life doesn't really have a price? I remember walking back to the operations center, the talk, and I went back in there and thought, what in the world am I going to do? And I had this little voice saying, you're a chaplain. Be a chaplain. And I thought, well, I can't offer another worship service. They're all gone. I can't go with them. I can't do anything. And I thought, well, I can do one thing. I can pray for them. So that's what I did. I crouched down in the corner, and I prayed as hard as I've prayed my entire life. I prayed for their safety, I prayed for their thriving, I prayed for mission success. Anything I could pray for, I just crouched down there and I prayed and I prayed and prayed. I was praying so hard, I didn't hear a single thing that happened on the radio. I was praying so hard, I didn't know the commander would come back in after a few hours later. When I saw him come back in, finally I popped up and stood at attention. He came right up to me and he got even closer to me. He said, Chaplain, were you praying for us? I swear, I thought if I said yes, he was going to hit me. And then I couldn't lie. I thought, okay, I got to do it. I got to just tell him yes. So I kind of clenched up and I said yes. He looked at me and said, good. And he walked away. A couple hours later, the E7, who had asked me to pray that some career survived his death, my death, he came up to me and said, did you hear what happened? I said, no. He said, well, I was in the front of the convoy. I was the person supposed to be watching out for bombs, for roadside bombs, and I was way too sleepy. He said I was out of it. I wasn't paying attention. Everything was going so smooth, I didn't notice the guy behind the rock. I didn't notice the wire, and I didn't notice the little mound with the roadside bomb. He said we got closer, I didn't see it, and then suddenly an explosion went off, and the whole road blew up. He said it was a half a second too early. He said, we got dusted, we got dusty, but not a single one of us got even a tiniest bit of a scratch. Everybody was fine. He said, I don't understand why. And I said, well, as the chaplain, I think I do. And I talked to him about my prayer, and I talked about how I wanted to be there for him. Now, you might think that it's just a coincidence, and that's fine. I don't think that, but you can think that. But my point is there was actually a result afterwards, not just the safety for the people. The result was hope. You see, the story started passing from person to person throughout the fire base. And the next day, they finally sent a helicopter to me, and yet right before the helicopter got there, I offered a worship service. And the commander and the E7 and a bunch of the other guys actually showed up. Because now they had hope. Not just in the chaplain. They had a hope in what the chaplain represented. You see, I went and grabbed my purpose and why I was sent there, and I focused on that purpose even when I didn't see the results. And today I want to encourage you to grab hold of your purpose even when you don't see the results. If your purpose is to be an airman in the United States Air Force, do it to the fullest of your ability whether you get the strat or not. Do it to the fullest of the ability whether you get the quarterly award or not. Whether you get the right EPR or the right OPR or you don't. Because that's your purpose. And the more you're able to focus on that purpose, the more you will see the results eventually. If your purpose is to be the best husband or wife that you can, I encourage you every single day to focus on how you can show your spouse how much you love. In action, not just in words. How you can put that person as a priority every single day. You can show that person value. If your purpose is to be the best father or mother you can be, put your energy into spending time with your kids and do the effort. You might not see the results right away. They might still be horrible, but you know your purpose. Focus on your purpose, and eventually you will see those results. If your focus is on the airman to the left or the right of you, care for them, love them, support them. Ask them questions like, hey, how's it going? And when they give you the normal answer of, hey, how's it going, which is fine, good, excellent, outstanding, whatever they give, I got a secret question you can ask them. Why? You ask them that question, you're going to start a conversation. And that conversation can make a difference. And if your purpose is your faith, I encourage you to hold tight in that faith as your chaplain. Hold tight in your beliefs. Practice what you say you preach, what you say you believe. Every single day, put your hope in that faith, and that faith will bring results. You see, each one of us in this room have a purpose. You have something you were sent here to do. You have a calling on your life. You have a purpose in your life. And there's something more that you can accomplish. Even if you don't see the results, we've got to put forth the passion for our purpose. And if you don't know what your purpose is, talk to the person wearing the cross, or the crescent, or the tablets. Talk to your chaplain. Because our purpose is to help you find yours.